Lights out, everybody, and welcome back to the Low Downforce podcast, a four-friend Formula One podcast. It is 2025 season, baby, and almost as exciting as the racing is the livery review. It is the 75th year of Formula One, and as such, they had a huge live event at the O2 in London. All 10 teams released their new car designs simultaneously. The internet, of course, went wild immediately after, but while we're waiting for the cars to hit the track, this is how we can rank them thus far. I have Matt, Josh, J9, and myself, Ben, all here. How did we feel in general about the liveries this coming season? Does it have you more excited? Does it have you less excited for the season?
Mixed reviews. Some big changes, some literally like nothing looks different.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Yep. I still have the same complaints just overall. There's so many sponsors, and I think it just looks tacky on cars. But
I
thought is needed.
The event as a whole was like kind of cool, but like some teams did better than others, and
yeah,
it was interesting.
Maybe I'm just missing Formula One, and I'm ready for it to be back. But I at least appreciated that it seems like just plain carbon fiber is a little less common than it was last year. Like I think credit to the artists at each team, the painters actually got to paint things this year. So generally I felt good about it, but maybe that's just all bundled into my excitement for this upcoming Formula One season. Without further ado then, we might as well get right into it. If you haven't checked out our 2025 season preview, definitely listen to that. That's going to get you all the lowdown on all the teams, all the drivers getting ready for the season. But similarly to that episode, we will be going in reverse order of the Constructors' Championship standings last year, which means we start right off the bat with Kick Sauber. J9, you want to take this one?
Yeah, absolutely. Kick Sauber's car, I enjoyed this one. And it's not super different than last year, and there's kind of crazy colors with the neon green. But I like the gradient that they have going from deep black to their green. I think it just stands out. And I think this is a car that on the grid, it stands out, and you're able to clearly pick out which one is the Kit car. And I like that. To be quite, I think it looks better. I'm not a fan of papaya. I think it's just a tacky color.
So we're not even there yet. That's so rude.
Not that lime green isn't also tacky, but it's just better in my opinion. Maybe I'm a green girl, so I think that's what it was. So I'm purely going off of aesthetic here. I liked the car. I'm actually a fan of it, which might be controversial, but
I actually thought this one was super boring. Like the front is green, the back is black. I like the gradient, yes, but I wish there was a pattern on it. And the back of the car, they just put no.
Hey, no, even the dogs are getting excited about livery season. We love this.
The back of the car is just black, and I guess they thought they didn't need to put a design on it because there's not going to be any cars behind them because they're going to be at the back of the grid every single time.
That's so toxic.
Oh my. Yeah.
So who knows? I thought it was boring. I gave it a 4 out of 10.
I thought the gradient looked cool at first, but then I saw it under like the O2 lighting. Did not look as good. But only thing I guess I have to say is the Hulk is going to be driving a green car. So I guess that's kind of exciting if you're like a Marvel fan or something. But yeah, no, not a great one for me. I gave it a 5 out of 10.
I mean, I've got the neon sweatshirt on, so I like bright colors. I was just at least appreciative that this was an improvement on last year's design. So I gave it a 6, but Jaina, did you give us your score?
You know, for me, this is a 7 or 8 out of 10. Minimal sponsorship on it, which just looks cleaner. Like I'm a clean design
That just
girl.
means they're broke.
Fair, but it's a cleaner design and it looks just like, I think the basicness is something that I actually like. So I give it like a 8 out of 10. I genuinely like it.
All right. Brings us to Williams, which is one of my favorites of the year. And a lot of people, I think, were saying it looks the same, but it's the same thing. Ferrari's going to be red. You know, the modern McLarens are going to be papaya. Williams is going to be blue. It's a little subtle, but if you look closely, there's kind of navy on the front and a lighter blue towards the back. I think it's clean. I think it looks good. I think their sponsorships are all kind of the same color, so it works kind of well. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I like this one.
I gave this one a 9 out of 10. I agree with you. It was clean. It was sleek. I like the gradient between the blues. This was my second favorite car on the grid. That's why I gave it a 9.
I thought it was shiny and cute. And I always like the Duracell little
That's the best ad
battery.
placement in all
It's
of
so
Formula
cute.
One.
Yeah. And I think like that kind of ad placement, it looks very well done. And I give a lot of credit to that sponsorship team on both sides of Williams and Duracell. And so I think that's very creative. And I give this a solid 9. It just looks like a very sleek car, and I like that.
Yeah, new blues, cool. Gave it an 8 out of 10. Best ad placement, but at the end of the day, I did kind of like the air intake better last year. I don't know. That's just me.
Josh hinted before this episode that he might know who everyone's favorite was. We're jumping to V carb. How'd you
10
feel
out of
about it?
10. No notes. Perfect car. It looks beautiful. Easily the best car in the grid.
I am right there with you. Especially because we'll talk about Red Bull, the main team, later. They always do the same livery. They just got trumped by their junior team because this V carb is sexy. The all white, it looks so good. You knew there was going to be Red Bull on there, but that was a given.
Yeah, I hated the blue that they had last year. 10 out of 10 for me as well here.
Okay, definitely not 10. I'm nowhere near that. I think it's not cute. It's not a fun car. I don't like the Red Bull anyway, so I think it's gross.
Do you like the mini little blue Red Bulls in the back, though?
I mean, that's cute. Like, that's creative. I'll give them that. Quite honestly, I think I missed that, so didn't really do it for me right at the beginning. I'm like really channeling Schitt's Creek here with like a David Rose, like, not my thing. Like, I'm gonna give it like a 4 out of 10.
Whoa.
I know.
Dang.
Whoa.
I just think it's like, are you blue or are you Red Bull or are you like with the Cash App? It's tacky. It's tacky, and I don't like it. It doesn't look classy. It doesn't look sleek to me. Okay.
You're like Dwayne Wade at the dunk contest, giving everything a 9, being like, nobody can have the perfect 10. Not allowed.
Yeah, but they're like at a 4, so
That's crazy. But I
Yeah.
respect it.
I know.
Matt, one of your favorite teams up next.
Oh yeah, and it's one of my favorite liveries. Not that it's anything super spectacular, but the red, white, and black is just a cool color scheme. They brought a lot more white into it this year. I think it looks clean. It almost reminds me of like the old McLarens, to be honest, if the white was just turned into a gray. But yeah, I think it's a nice looking car. So 8 out of 10.
I'm totally gonna agree with you here. The extra white on it, it does bring some like really good balance with the red. And I think the balance is what I really like. I do think MoneyGram is very tacky on the front, but they did a good color balance. So I'm gonna give them like a 6.
Yeah, I like the changes from last year, so I'm going to give it a 7.
Wait, Matt, what did you say your score was?
Sorry, 8 is what I'm going with. Also, by the way, one thing, their team logo on the rear wing, I think that looks great.
That is very nice.
Maybe I'm pulling the J9 now. I gave this one a 4 because don't get me wrong, like I said earlier, I think every team did well. I think there were a lot of good liveries. I don't think there were as many great liveries, but I also don't think there were as many bad liveries. I think Haas's looked fine. It looks very similar to last year's, but they stood out last year because they were the ones that really channeled white. And so their car popped when there were a lot of, greens or a lot of reds or a lot of navies. We get those a lot. The white stood out. To me, it hurts that V-Carb just came out with like the sexiest white car alive, that now it's like, I don't really need Haas's white car as well.
Okay. Okay.
Well, maybe we don't need V carbs.
Hey, to each their own. That is why we gave it a score. At the end of this episode, we will let all of y'all know who our collective favorite livery was, who our collective least favorite livery was, and then down in the comments on all socials at Low Downforce Pod, you will have to let us know what your favorite livery was, what your least favorite livery was. But as we round out the bottom half, certainly one of the most colorful liveries, we get Alpine. And I'll just say this straight up. This pains me because this is my least favorite livery. Because, like the meme where it's like the really like shitty Comic Sans logo where it's like the graphic design is my passion. Like this blue and this pink with these border colors does not work.
That
Like,
you're just wrong.
Disagree.
Like specifically the BWT outlined in black on a blue background on the
No.
side pod.
That's
like,
the best part.
That's almost negative numbers for me alone.
No way.
It feels
I love
like it feels like they took a pink car and a blue car, cut them both up, and then stuck random panels together.
No.
I gave it a 3 out of 10.
No, I
Ugh.
love this. They
I
finally
do too.
brought the pink in as an accent color. It should not be the main color of the car. They totally hit the mark this year. That blue is just like a sexy blue. Like it's just it looks like the ocean when I'm in the Caribbean. Like it
That's
just
that's why I said it. That's why I said it
I
pains
know.
me. I think the pink by itself looks
love-
great. I think the blue is incredible. Together,
Yeah.
for some reason, it doesn't work for me.
Oh, I'm really
It
liking
does
it
work.
because they finally brought it in as a good accent color. They balance. I do think the font on BWT looks really weird, but the outline of the letters, I never look at that. It just overall, I think it looks like a very sleek car, and I'm so excited to see it on the grid.
Yeah, I gave it a 7 out of 10. I think it's unique. They started it last year with, I thought, just a horrible livery. It was just like so much black with blue and pink accents, and I really loved the all pink, to be honest. Made them stand out, and this is going to make them stand out again. So at least, you're not going to have trouble finding an Alpine on the track.
Yeah, I gave it an 8 just because I love the bright colors. I think it works really well together.
Yeah, I'm totally at an 8 as well.
Hey, this is why we do these shows. Hey, if we all had the same opinions, this episode would stink. So,
This is true.
hey, I agree with Matt. They at least put color on it. And another team as known for their color as just about anybody else, it is Aston Martin in their racing green. Josh, how do you feel about it?
This is exactly what I wrote down word for word. I wrote, it's an Aston Martin. 5 out of 10. It's green.
Yeah.
It looks like an Aston Martin. Like, it's not really that different from the past. So 5 out of 10.
I completely agree. I give it higher because again, it's a little bit on the more basic side, and I prefer that kind of design. I love the color that they use, like that greenish, bluish, tealy kind of thing. And this might sound really bad, but on the grid, it's very hard for me to distinguish the Aston Martins from the Mercedes because they have that similar blue, green, teal kind of color. It's not the same, but on the grid, when they're going so fast, you're like, wait, which one was that? And you have to look at the TV to just make sure that it's the right person that you're thinking. And if they're all right next to each other, it gets kind of confusing. So I don't think this one stands out on the grid as much, but I do like the design. So I'm going to give it a 7.
I would say this might be the closest car year over year. But
Yeah,
I did notice if you look very closely, they definitely changed. I don't know if it's the glossiness, but the racing green looks different this year from last year, and I think it's a better looking racing green. I think it's more true to Aston Martin's green. The only other real change is now some of that green is on the top of the side pods and it's black on the side of them. So the top view, I think, looks better. I think the side view looks worse because it's just black now. But it's basically the same car. Fortunately for them, that is a clean-ass green. So I gave it a 7.
Yeah, also a 7 over here. I think that it's just one of my favorite colors on the grid, to be honest. It reminds me of James Bond, like the Aston Martins in the James Bond movies. But I just, that light, I don't know if they called it chartreuse or something. I didn't like it. There's other ways that they could have made it stand out, and I do like that they're going for contrast as opposed to some earlier years where it was just a little bit more basic. But I think that was just the wrong color to choose.
Jana, and it's time for your favorite.
I know. It's obviously my favorite car in the grid. I give it a 10 out of 10. And they got even better this year because they went with a more even all black look, which is, again, classy. I'm thinking martini. I'm thinking old fashioned. I'm thinking glass of fucking champagne. Love it. It has just that streak of the teal, and the tires are yellow, but everything else is just this. It kind of looks like just a classy black. It's my favorite. 10. Probably, but because
that is a crazy.
all of the rest of my clothes in my closet are black. So
that's a crazy
probably
score.
why.
They did get rid of the red air intake on the Ineos logo,
Yeah.
which I like
Which is
that,
funky
but
last
It feels
Yeah,
like it's
now-
missing something though.
I completely agree. It feels like there's just not a whole lot of color there. I feel like there should either be more teal or more silver. So I give it a 6 because I still like it, but it just doesn't look as good as in the past.
Yeah, the silver arrows in the back is cool. I think that it was really nice for them to bring it in last year. But I don't know. I didn't like the red last year, but now, like you guys said, just feels like it's missing something. I gave it a 6. Just didn't really know how to feel about it.
I was also right at a 6. I think which is weird because I think it's a good looking car. It's just when the rest of the grid is getting a little more vibrant and brighter. Like the black is clean, but it also, maybe it is just the red air intake cap missing, but it just feels like it's missing something. It's just not quite as poppy as some of its competitors. That brings us to the car that definitely changed the least, and that is Red Bull. I mean, it's kind of this thing that they're probably the most brand forward, or certainly one of the most brand forward cars in Formula One, because it's literally Red Bull. Like they have an identity across all of their sports, across all of their kind of adventures, and they've been one of the most successful teams as of late. So I kind of get not changing it, but it's never been my favorite. So I gave it a 5.
In the past, I defended Red Bull for not changing their livery because I was like, oh, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, you don't need to. You keep winning. They didn't win the Constructors last year. You got to change up the car. You got to do something. I gave it a 6 out of 10 because it looks nice, I think, but it's just there's nothing to it. It is identical to what they've used since like 2016.
But now they also got completely outshadowed by V-Carb. Like normally it was
Also
like, okay,
true.
this is still iconic Red Bull, but at least in my opinion, the V-Carb looks so good that it's like you just got outdone by your
Maybe
sister
they're
team.
trying to stay under the cost cap by not spending money on new designers.
Y'all ever watch The Office? Like corporate wants you to find the difference between these two pictures, and it's just the same picture. Yeah, I think if VCarb hadn't made such a big change, I probably wouldn't be so critical on Red Bull. But 4 out of 10 for me, just you got to do something new. The sport's got to progress, and you'll probably get mad at me for how I react to some of the other liveries coming up. But I just think that they need to change.
I'm bored. 5 out of 10.
That sums it up
By the car,
immaculately.
not y'all.
Josh,
Yeah,
it's Tifosi
so
Red, baby.
I'm going to start by giving my rating and saying it's an 8 out of 10. And now I'm going to criticize it because I'm
Did you
just...
say 10 out of 10?
No, 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10.
Oh, 8 out of 10.
It's a darker shade of red, which I think is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. The white stripe on the back... HP is the issue here. And I'm sure they're paying a lot of money.
The
and
crazy
a great
thing, though, is
sponsorship.
HP has an all-silver logo,
Yeah, I don't know.
and
So-
I just wish they would use it.
Yeah, so the white stripe on the back with the HP logo, like it doesn't look bad. It's just like it looks like you're just pasting a giant ad on top of a beautiful car, and it would look nicer without it. So it's still an 8 out of 10 because it's a Ferrari and it's beautiful, but without the logo, it'd be a little bit better.
I think I'm a little same, a little different. I really like the white stripe on the car. The HP, it is what it is. Like, I wish that they would kind of allow some variants of color to match.
You need advertisements.
I think the
Formula
stripe
1.
looks really well, but I think I don't like the white on the wings, the front and the rear. We no longer get the Ferrari on the back of the rear wing, which is so iconic. So that I'm also an 8 out of 10. I really like the white stripe. It was really trending up for me, but the wings kind of brought it back down. So there's some good, some bad.
Yeah, on the air intake in the side pod, if they flipped Shell and HP, I think that would have been like a better look. I just really like the way that for a long time they really just were like black, red, and yellow. I think it took a step down from last year. 7 out of 10 for me.
I'm a 5 out of 10. The HP ruined it all. No, I'm
Dang.
changing it. 3 out of 10. HP ruined it all. I really get annoyed when sponsors want their colors. And I get that you're paying a lot of money, but make it look classy. Make it look like it all goes together. And they didn't. And that bothers me. It makes it look like a strip mall, and I don't like it. So 3 out of 10. Love the darker red, so that's why they get a 3. But I'm really pissed.
It's
at
still
it.
a Ferrari.
if
It
it's-
still looks good. It's just we know they can do better.
If their logo
Yeah.
isn't in blue, you're not going to know which printer to buy. So
You're
that's
right.
why you spend
How
all the money.
Could I?
Yeah, but
It's not my fave. It's not my fave.
it is a little disappointing to see Lewis is making this big move and going to such like a iconic team who just changed their livery to be a little bit uglier.
And that brings
Papaya
us
Army,
to
what do you
the
guys have?
defending constructors champions, which Josh, you hinted at it earlier. They didn't change a lot because when you win a constructors championship, you don't need to. You kind of start that new era. I think it looks really good. I would probably say it looks a tiny bit better than last year. I kind of like the font a little more, although I like the last one. The one, I guess, differentiator for me, or the two differentiators, there's a little more papaya to go around, which I'm always all in favor of. And McLaren's always had a little bit of a blue accent somewhere. It used to be a lighter blue. It looks around the mirror that there's almost like it's not quite teal the way like Mercedes is or Aston Martin is, but there is this like deep, like slightly greenish blue that I'm just waiting for merch to drop with that accent because I think the color looks really, really nice. I gave it an 8 out of 10 as well.
8 out of 10 for me too. I always love the Google tires. I think that's really just like a cute, again, creative
So
way to bring it in.
sometimes you like the advertisers, sometimes you hate it. What's
That's
the deal?
creative. Duracell battery, very cute. The
HP?
Chrome logo on the cute. HP, you just slapped your logo on it, and I don't like it.
Oh my!
So
I'm gonna
this is
be.
why I'm not in marketing because I just get super passionate about things that like it's it depends on what it is. I like it. 8 out of 10. It does look very again. Papaya is not my favorite color, but they did do a good job at the color they were given. So 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I gave him 9 out of 10. Just props for bringing in more of that papaya. I love the wheels, like we all talked about. The only thing that I'm wondering at this point is like, is it a papaya car with black accents or is it a black car with papaya accents? And I think you can make an argument for either one. But leaning more into that papaya, I'm all for it. I wouldn't mind if they did the whole thing in papaya. And I'm actually really excited to see more so than their regular livery this season, the special liveries that they bring during the season.
I'm gonna be the hater here because I'm a Ferrari fan and because you guys all rated it highly. This entire car needs to be papaya. Like there is far too much black. I don't care that they added Mar. I'm giving it a 4 out of 10 because it looks the same as last year. Last year's car looked fine, but there's so much. Like you just cover the whole thing in orange, put a little bit of light blue. It's a perfect car, and there's still too much black on the car.
Yeah.
And there you have it. That is 10 liveries up, 10 liveries down. I have been doing some quick maths in the background. So the drum roll for the most liked livery, there are actually two as a tie. It was Williams and V-Carb got 34 out of a possible 40 points. But if you were going to go off of a tiebreaker, V-Carb got higher rated by 3 of the 4 of us. J9 said,
Lame.
screw your rankings. 4 slapped it right on there. So those are the two at the top. They're clean. They're good looking. It's interesting. One of those is like very traditional, didn't change a whole lot. The other went for a totally different scheme. Both ended up on the top. The one we rated the least favorite, though, is Red Bull, which is so interesting because it is still iconic. It is a very recognizable design, but I think all the other teams have found ways to add a little variance, add a little flair or class or culture into their liveries. Red Bull, they're unable to do so, and then their sister team just hits a home run straight out of the park with their all white livery. So maybe Red Bull.
Red Bull.
It only got a 20 out of 40 for us, so we're giving it a 50% marks. That's a failing grade. So hey, maybe Red Bull, your era is coming to an end. It seems at the top of the constructor, so maybe it's time to spice it up, try something new. So maybe that's what they get for canceling their fan-made livery at the end of last year because they needed to be faster and not put more paint on the car. But there is racing soon. It's coming next month. We obviously kick off the Formula One season in Australia for the first of 24 races, but we're not quite there yet. So we got to judge things. We got to give our rankings for best teams and worst teams before then. Liveries gives us the perfect reason to do it. The F1 live at the O2 was the perfect kind of kickoff to the preseason that we are now well underway. It is time to get rolling on the 2025 Formula One season. Thank you for tuning in, listening to us. We are back for our second year, and we are so happy about it. As I mentioned earlier, check us out on socials at Low Downforce Pod on Instagram, on Twitter, on Blue Sky. We also are now uploading our video recordings to YouTube this year. So plenty of ways to listen to us, as well as all of your podcast streaming platforms. We will keep getting you ready for the season. Keep tuning in for the ride. Until then, stay speedy. Goodbye.